Hey guys, this is Canon from EnglishShooting and welcome to the channel. Welcome also to one of the hottest topics in the shooting industry for many decades, the use of lead shot. The EU, and I'm sure our government at some point, will try to bring in a legal ban of lead shots, either for live quarry shooting or for just any shooting in general. You can look at it as they're wanting to do good for the environment, they're wanting to make sure that we stop polluting the countryside, or as many of you do, we could look at it that this is just a backdoor ban, another cut to add to the thousands already to our sport. But this ban or this stoppage of the use of lead shot for live quarry isn't coming from the EU, it isn't coming from our government. No, it's coming from the organisations that we pay our monthly subscriptions to, our annual subscriptions to, in the belief that they are doing the best for the shooting industry, that they're doing the best for you, the shooter. Our organisations coming at us and telling us what we should do instead of asking us what we would like to do, they're basing it on little information and a lot of statements that actually ask a lot more questions than they give answers. Yes, lead shot is toxic. Yes, we know the harmful effects not only on the human body, but that of wildlife. And we, as a community, should be doing everything possible to minimise the pollution out in the countryside, to minimise the damage we do to the countryside with the ammunition we use. And I'm sure there are a lot of cases out there where using still shot would suffice, would give no ill effects to the shooter in terms of the effectiveness of the shot. And as responsible countrymen, we should use those options where possible. No one can categorically say what the safe amount of lead is. Yes, it's been amended to say that no amount of lead is the level, but you go on to the Food Standards Agency and you see that they say, well, regular consumption. Well, what is regular consumption? Is it pheasant breast a week, a month, a year? No one can give a definitive answer. And the biggest part and argument of moving over to still shot is the consumption of game meat. It is helping to bolster the game industry. I think the organisations have a very idealistic view of what this switch will do. They seem to think that by switching over to still shot, that suddenly we're going to be selling far more game. The companies, organisations, charities and trusts that are already making use of game meat are already seeing a dramatic rise in the consumption. Maybe the organisations are going to be using this increased sale after we switched to still to justify it when already the rise was there. I think the overall assumption that still shot is going to transform the game meat industry is quite naive. There are already many measures in place that these companies, trusts and organisations can use to screen lead shot in their birds. And people don't seem to really have that much of an objection. Looking on the Basque website last night, it stated categorically that they would not be changing their stance on lead shot until definitive evidence came to light that suggested that there was a significant harm being done from lead shot. And as far as I can make out, there's been no new evidence, there's been nothing to suggest that lead in the countryside is any more dangerous than it has been for the past decade. And yet suddenly, when you go on there this morning, they've seemed to have changed their tune. That page has been taken down and their previous categorical statement has seemed to change. And to not consult us about this, to not work with us on this, to not even talk to us on this, just to say this is what is happening, I find absolutely disgusting. And I've had multiple sources confirm that this has been many, many months in the pipeline. This isn't a knee-jerk reaction. They've been working on this since the middle of last year. So they have had plenty of time to get feedback. They have had plenty of time to talk and relay their concerns with the membership, share evidence and new findings so that we can fully understand their decision. Now, all Basque can seem to do with this argument is state that technologies have improved with steel shot and other non-lead alternatives. Well, yes, technology progressing and developing is definitely a good thing. I'm not against that. But how far has it developed? Because if you look at the Danish shooters, they fully admit that you cannot get the same performance out of steel or non-lead shot as lead shot. So whilst the developments might have come into place and the advancements may be there, they are still nowhere near that of lead shot. The only other justification from BASC is that, well, the EU are going to be bringing in more restrictions and legislation over this. So from their previous stance point of, we will not move until there is evidence to suggest, they're now saying, well, the technology is sort of there and we're going to get attacked on this anyway. They, along with all the other organisations that have jointly supported this statement of moving from lead over a 5-year period, have massively let the shooting industry down. There has been no fight, there has been no opposition to these potential changes. They have just laid down and let, once again, people walk over us. The only report that I've seen out there is actually from the Lead Ammunition Group, a group that was founded with the sole purpose of advising the government whether further restrictions was needed on lead ammunition. And their findings, inconclusive. There was nothing definitive to say that the detrimental effects from lead or the volume of lead being put out there warranted further restrictions and legislations. They fully admit, and we all fully know, that lead out there is bad, but there is nothing to suggest that what is out there at the moment is significant enough for further restrictions and changes. As a predominant sport shooter, this leaves me very worried. It's not too hard to understand that clay shooting and practical shooting, the sport shooting that use lead ammunition, put out far more cartridges than the game industry. Now, if they are using the game industry as a justification to stop using lead, how long is it going to be until sport shooting is restricted even further? How long is it going to be until you can't use lead down your clay range? It is incredibly short-sighted and a huge gamble to completely change an industry based on the potential of selling a little bit more game when we're already selling larger numbers of game, and game seems to be ever more popular. In a time where our industry is under constant attack, it is very much an own goal to be imposing this ban on all of us now, especially when the evidence is not concrete, especially when the evidence suggests that the overall detrimental effect is not significant enough to warrant these bans and further restrictions. For our shooting organisations to so willingly open the door to further restrictions, well, I think they are doing completely the opposite for what we pay them to be doing. But there we go, guys. The hot topic of lead ammunition. I will be following this up with a second video. This is quite an in-depth topic, and I want to really look at the research and the evidence, and that's going to take a little bit of time, but I'm open to changing my mind if the evidence comes up, but let's see what is there. But until that follow-up video, thank you very much for watching this one. Make sure that you're subscribed and hit the thumbs up button if you did like the video. It is a massive support to the channel, hitting subscribe and the like button. Thank you very much for watching. Really hope you've enjoyed it. And as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.